Good evening, everyone, and thank you for attending the Redhawk University. My name is Damon Villnave. We also have our Special Patrol Officer, Jamey Locastro, on as a panelist. Also with us is Dr. Heidi Sweeney, the Executive Principal. And we also have Aaron Rodman, the Farnham counselor that is housed here in our school and in the middle school. So if there's any questions or anything like that about counseling, she will be able to answer. So tonight we are going to be discussing vaping and drug awareness. This is something that has become somewhat of an epidemic, not only in our school, but throughout the United States of America. So our goal for tonight is to educate you on some terms such as vaping, green out, THC, dab pens, give you an awareness around what vapes look like, what dab pens look like, and some social media avenues that our students are using to look at vaping and things like that. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Our first slide is just a little bit of an informational slide about things that what it looks like and what the numbers look like in our high schools and high schools throughout the United States. In the past year, vaping among high schoolers has increased 78%. That's 1 year. So it's almost increased 80% over 1 year. Over 10.7 million students aged 12 through 17 are at risk for using a vaping device. And what is a vape? A vape is an electronic smoking device and are most commonly used for tobacco products with middle and high schoolers. And we'll talk a little bit about more what vapes are and what they look like. So the question out there is, what is vaping? I'm sure that if you have a conversation with your child, they're probably going to be able to describe what vaping is, what it looks like. But the overall definition is vaping is the act of inhaling and exhaling the aerosol, often referred to as a vapor, which is produced by an electronic smoking device. The term is used because electronic smoking devices do not produce tobacco smoke, but rather an aerosol. So basically what a vape is it's a battery with a liquid in it. And what the battery does is essentially heats the liquid and then turns the liquid into an aerosol. Where we know as traditional cigarettes, it was kind of a tobacco product, a leafy product, wrapped in a paper with a little filter on the end of it. And that was a cigarette. But it's become very prevalent that students are using vaping devices. Now, a vape generally consists of a mouthpiece, a battery, a cartridge for containing the e-liquid or e-juice, and a heating component for the device that's powered by a battery. Now, if you look in the bottom right-hand corner of the slide, you'll see an orange and yellow one. That's called a Hyde. Those are the most popular vapes that we are seeing throughout the school. And reason being that they're the most popular vape is that they come in flavors. There's dragon fruit, watermelon, mango, and unfortunately, they're very easily accessible. As we move farther into the presentation, Officer Locastro is actually going to talk about the legalities behind vaping and THC and marijuana and things around that. So we're going to continue on. As I said, if you talk to your student, they kind of will probably be able to give you a similar definition of what vaping looks like and what vaping is. There are some side effects to vaping and things that you may want to pay attention to as you're looking with your child. If you notice an irritation or they have a cough beyond being sick, but it's just kind of a deep, hacky cough. They may have chest pain, increased blood pressure, increased heart rate, and the big ones are vomiting and nausea. With vaping, what happens is young people aren't accustomed to taking such toxins into their body. And unfortunately, with vaping, they get a bit of a euphoric effect. And with that euphoric effect, they want to take more and more into their body. So what happens is that vomiting and nausea has a tendency to set in when students are vaping. So it's just, those are some signs just to look for. If you feel that your child may be vaping and you see any of those signs, you might want to call your pediatrician and talk about things and talk to your child and find out where they're at. Because vaping really starts around kind of a social thing. Sometimes students are in a social circle and someone may start it, and then next thing you know, a vape's being passed around and everybody's kind of smoking it. And then not long after that, they're addicted to it, and they can't find ways of getting away from it. So just look for those signs if you see them. So now we're moving into what a dab pen is. A dab pen is a device used to smoke THC oils, and THC oils are derived from the plant marijuana. And again, Officer Locastro is going to be talking a little bit about THC and the overall legalities and effects. Now, these devices are easily concealed and have a high concentration of THC. Dab pens usually have a cartridge that screws into a battery. However, a dab pen can also look very similar to a vape. So if you see something, maybe you're looking in your child's bag or in their room, and you see something you're not really sure what it is, grab it, ask a question, and look it up on Google. I mean, and we're going to show you lots of pictures of things like that. So one of the things that Mr. Colabufo has sent information out about and has talked a lot about are pens laced with fentanyl. That's becoming an issue throughout the United States. So unfortunately, our young people are smoking stuff that they don't even know what they're ingesting. So sometimes a dab pen has THC oil in it, but it also could have some fentanyl in it. Also, the dab pens, the mouthpiece can be taken off and you can add other items into it. So we really just want to be able to educate you on some of the things that are happening. So there is a small article, and it's called Fentanyl Laced Vapes on the Rise, What to Look Out For. Again, all of this information is on the presentation, and this presentation will be on our website. So you'll be able to go through it, look at it, click on all of the links and find out more information. But this has become a big thing where fentanyl has been put into dab pens, has been put into vapes. And unfortunately with fentanyl, it's a lethal narcotic. And there's potential death around it, hospitalization. So when talking to your children, be sure that you're really, really having them understand that don't ingest anything. Don't put anything in your bodies that you have no idea what it is, because you could do some serious damage to yourself, up to and including death. And that's the last thing we would want. So again, that article is on there. It talks about what fentanyl is, where fentanyl is being found in vapes. How do you know if your vape is laced with fentanyl? Again, it's something we want to stay away from. Officer Locastro, real quick question. With fentanyl, can Narcan be used on a fentanyl overdose?
Yes, because fentanyl is an opioid, just like heroin. So Narcan's typically used to counteract the effects of like heroin. Drug dealers use fentanyl to cut heroin to kind of stretch it out, and fentanyl is just a synthetic form of heroin. So Narcan can be used, but it's not as effective because fentanyl is a lot stronger. So depending on person sensitivity, like myself, if I'm exposed to fentanyl, I've been exposed to it. I was given to it for pain management. It actually stopped my breathing. So they had to use Narcan to counteract the effect. So it can be used, but it's always not as effective because fentanyl is a little stronger.
Gotcha. So again, it's just one of those things that we're just trying to educate you on and know that it's out there, and having conversations with your children about the potency of fentanyl and what it can do, because in the end, it can lead to death. And that's the one thing that we do not want for any of our students. So things that we've noticed around the use of dab pens, and this is a popular term among our young people, our young teenage students. It's called a green out. And what a green out is when recreational marijuana users overconsume marijuana in the plant form or in the THC form. They will get sick and begin to exhibit the following symptoms associated with greening out. So, and we'll talk a little bit more about the THC. Turning a green, pale, or ashy, hence the term greening out. Becoming dizzy and lightheaded, losing mobile functions, becoming disoriented with blurry vision, unstable balance, trouble hearing, losing the ability to focus, mildly hallucinating, increased anxiety, unease, paranoia, or panic attacks, decreased blood sugar, increased heart rate, becoming nauseous, and in severe cases, vomiting. And the unfortunate part about this is that we have actually seen students green out. And it's a scary, scary thing to see a student green out and then have them transported to the hospital. So if you're seeing any of these symptoms around your child, this is potentially what could be happening to them. And when we were discussing the THC, the problem with dab pens, and I'm going to let Officer Locastro talk a little bit more about this, is that there's a large concentration around THC and how it comes from marijuana. So I'm going to step aside and let Officer Locastro speak on this.
So as we all know, New York State has legalized recreational use and possession of marijuana for adults, anybody over the age of 21. So New York State set a percentage as to what the legal amount of THC in a dab pen or in a concentrated cannabis vaping device would be. And I believe New York State's legal limit is 8% THC. So that means that the concentration of THC in the concentrated cannabis oil is only 8% THC, which is similar to just smoking the plant-based marijuana. Some of the dab pens that we're recovering, I do some research and I'll look at the manufacturer, I'll find the packaging. And earlier this school year, we had a student that experienced a green out. And when we started investigating it, I actually was able to determine that the dab pen that we recovered in the school contained 90.6% THC. So that was it's almost 12 or 11 times higher than the legal limit in New York State. So for anybody that's normally ingesting 8% THC, for them to take in almost 91%, that's going to cause your body to kind of get overwhelmed by the amount. And if anybody has any questions, if you want to put your question in the chat forum, I'll be monitoring the chat and I'll make sure that we get your questions answered in a timely fashion.
Yeah, so the greening out, it's very scary and it's very dangerous. And again, we go back to educating our students on, you have no idea what it is that you are consuming in your body. So again, you could be dealing with a vape pen, you could be dealing with a dab pen that has THC, and you ingest too much THC at high concentrated levels, you could green out, potentially go to the hospital. There could be other forms of disarray to your body. So again, you could smoke a dab pen that could have THC in it. It could be laced with fentanyl. Again, that could lead to death. And we're not trying to scare anybody. We're just trying to educate you on what it is that's out there. And we find it very important to do this because there has been an increase in the amount of vaping and use of drugs throughout the United States of America. So we're going to continue on. This slide kind of shows what a dab pen looks like. If you look right into the middle, you'll see a silver card or a silver pen looking thing with a cartridge on it with oil. That's the most common form of a dab pen. And the reason they call it a dab pen is because it looks exactly like a pen. Now, if you're looking at it, you'll see that there's a little button right here. What that button does is when you press that button, it heats up the battery. And when it heats up the oil that's right here in this cartridge. And then that's how it gets smoked right here through the mouthpiece. This right here is a cartridge. So basically this would screw into just the battery portion of it. Now it's, and that's what a dab pen. Now over here, this pink one, this almost looks like a vape pen, very similar to what a lot of vape pens out there look like, but they also do contain THC. So that's just something else. So if you happen to see something and you notice it in a bag or in a room or something like that, I would grab it and look at it. Over here on the left-hand side, this is what's known as a Delta 8. And those are found in some vape shops here in New York, unfortunately. But they do contain, I think that's the 8% THC. Is that accurate, Officer Locastro?
Yeah, those would be the ones that are going to be legal for sale here eventually.
So again, just we want to educate you on what it looks like. So if you do come across it, you'll be able to question it and have a little bit of knowledge. So moving on. Now where can these products be purchased? Again, Officer Locastro is going to speak about where they can be purchased, but who can purchase them? Because really, New York does have some laws in effect right now on who can purchase them, how they can be purchased. So again, I'm going to step aside and let Officer Locastro talk about the legalities behind the products to be purchased.
So the vape shops are allowed to sell tobacco products, but they're also eventually, once they're licensed and they're licensed through the Cannabis Commission, they'll be allowed to be a dispensary for marijuana. So smoking tobacco and marijuana are going to be very similar as far as the law goes. So anybody in New York State that's 21 years of age or older is allowed to possess and use tobacco. And basically, when they legalized marijuana in New York State, they basically said that anywhere that tobacco can be smoked, cannabis can be consumed either by edible or by vape or by smoking the actual plant-based marijuana itself. There are exceptions to the rule, and the restrictions for cannabis use in New York State are, and the one that probably stands out most ardently to me is smoking, vaping, or ingesting cannabis or concentrated cannabis is not allowed on any school grounds anywhere in New York State. So New York State has deemed that schools are an area that they'll continue to be no use or ability to consume cannabis. And that's for the students, and that's also for parents that are visiting. So right now, as it stands, in New York State, I don't believe that in our two counties, Oswego and Onondaga County for our school district, I don't believe that there are any vape shops that are currently licensed by the Cannabis Commission as a dispensary. So any of them that are selling cannabis products are doing it, not with the permission of New York State at this point. Last school year, I know that we did combined raid in the Village of Central Square for 2 vape shops that were within close proximity to the high school. And we found that they were selling vapes. They were selling the tobacco vapes. They had displayed flavored vapes. And then they were also selling the Delta 8 THC cartridges and dab pens as well. So you would like to think that that would be illegal, and it is, but with the legalization of marijuana in New York State, the one thing that the legislature did not do is they did not formally tell the police how to enforce the new cannabis laws, because decriminalizing cannabis means that there's not a lot that the police can do. So for anybody that is caught in possession of marijuana on the school grounds, it's the same as getting a speeding ticket right now. So it's a civil penalty. You'd pay a fine and you do a certain amount of community service. So the vape shops around us, the students, when we talk to them, we've got a pretty good idea where most of them are purchasing things. I know that last year, the state police, when they helped us with the raid, they arrested a couple of store clerks for what's called unlawfully dealing with a child in the 2nd degree. And that's just selling tobacco products or selling any sort of a smoking device to anybody under the age of 21. So Onondaga and Oswego County both have the minimum age for tobacco possession and use at 21. So that would mean that they are not allowed to sell tobacco to anybody under the age of 21. So they actually, one person was arrested for that felony, and then another person, there's a warrant out for his arrest still. So at this point, the police are still trying to figure out, what we're going to do from an enforcement side. What we've been doing at the school whenever we've recovered one of the devices is I collaborate with the school administration, and we try to find the best resource and best services that we can help with the family and with the student to kind of work through the issue that's going on. And any device that's deemed to contain cannabis is recovered by me and then turned into the police department for proper disposal.
Again, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. On this slide, I did show in the lower left-hand corner, and and by no means are we promoting any of these vape shops. We're just educating you on where they are and the easy access that our students could potentially have to them. So the one in the lower left-hand corner, that is the one right here in Central Square, right in the Village. If you've driven up Main Street, you've probably seen it. And again, we wanted to show you the top 10 in Cicero, because you can just go and click on that and it shows what's going on. We did, I just so you know, I wanted to let you know that Mr. Colabufo is with us. I just got a text message from him, let you guys know that he is with us. So again, I just wanted to go over, this is, in no way are we promoting these shops. We're just letting you know how easy it is to access these shops. And unfortunately, some of the shops, as Officer Locastro said, sometimes sell to minors. So again, it's just an education piece for everyone out there, and kind of how easy it is to find these vapes and buy them and purchase them and things like that. So moving on to our next slide. Obviously, we know our students are very, very adapted to social media, whether it's Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, TikTok. All of our children are very deep into these. They know more about them than we do as adults, because we're stuck on Facebook, which is really, really kind of old. However, our young people, especially TikTok, that is the biggest trending one right now. But if you go into Instagram and you pull up the little magnifying glass and you type, or you search vape or search vaping, watch what comes up, tricks on vaping, how to use a vape, all those types of things. YouTube, we all know that YouTube is very, very popular, and you can find anything you want on YouTube. Sometimes I joke around with my children. I call it YouTube University, because you can really go there and learn anything you want just by typing something in. Snapchat, we all know that Snapchat's very popular amongst our young people. Again, you just go in, look for vaping tricks, vaping videos. You're going to see lots of things. Jamey, I see that your hand is raised. Just let me get through this one more. And then TikTok. Obviously, there's lots of people that use TikTok for a variety of reasons. But again, you can also go in looking for vaping tricks, vaping videos. Officer Locastro.
So there was a question in the Q&A form. I grabbed it and put it in the chat.
Okay.
It says, talking about drugs more with psychedelics, how will you help students who have been scared or traumatized from the experience instead of telling them it was wrong? That would probably be a question where, depending on what was recovered and what we know was going on, there's school-based issues that obviously the school would deal with, but we actually have Erin Rodman, who's one of our Farnham counselors. She deals with a lot of drug counseling for the students, and she does a lot of the in-school based counseling for the students that have been either caught with drugs or may have drug issues and they need someone to talk to. So Mr. Villnave and I are also part of an ongoing panel with Farnham, where we discuss drug issues that are going on in the school. So obviously we would look, if a student has revealed to us that they have a bad experience with any sort of drug or with a psychedelic, then we'd probably refer them over to Erin Rodman to do some counseling there.
That's a great question. And we know that vaping is the prevalent problem, but the overarching umbrella problem is addiction. And that's what it is we need to fix. And we're looking at all avenues on how we can do that. And counseling is definitely one preventative that we can put into place. And it's great that we do have Erin Rodman from Farnham. We have her a couple of days at the high school, which is great for any of our students that need that type of counseling. So again, social media, that is very popular for all of our students, especially with Snapchat and TikTok. They like to use those. They love to use those. That's the form of communication. We know that many of our students don't even text message anymore. Most of it is through Snapchat and snaps and all of those types of things. So again, if you're looking, if you come up with stuff and you're one to look at your child's phone, just go in and look at their history and see what they've been looking at and things like that. So, but social media is definitely a way that our students are learning about this and coming up with ways to use things like this. So moving forward, this is always one of my favorite parts of the presentation, popular hiding spots. So is it possible for students to hide drugs, vapes, dab pens in plain sight at home or school? And the answer to that question is yes, no doubt. One of the videos I like to show is the very first one. It's called Spot the Pot. And really it's more than just spotting pot. It's about how students can hide drugs in plain sight at home. So I'm going to let this video play. It's approximately 5 minutes. So watch it. I hope you learn something from it. I know it says it may be inappropriate. I think it's because it speaks about drugs.
Like cold process soap is different than regular soap. Large
soon as we get
commercial
through
soap
the ad,
makers use cheap chemical.
I have young kids. I'm like having nightmares about this.
Yeah.
They got a couple of years older. We just found an online marketplace for everyday objects that can hide drugs in plain sight. They're brand name knockoffs with secret sections and pockets inside. Now, experts say kids are buying them to hide pot and pills right under their parents' noses. Can you believe it? Think you'd be able to spot the pot in your kids' rooms? This morning, we're hiding drugs in a real teenager's bedroom to find out. This teenager's bedroom is filled with pot, but you can't see it. Stashed in hollowed out containers designed to look like everyday objects. And they're easy to find online. On Amazon, we just type in stash drugs and look what comes up. Item after item, from a hairbrush to deodorant. This one's so brazen, white powder is coming out of it. Experts say teens are using them to hide drugs. So would you know where to look in your kid's room? To find out, we've recruited this real-life mom of a real-life teenager. This is Jen, hey.
Hi, how are you?
And she's 15, right?
She's 15, a freshman in high school.
All right, so all we told you was that we're gonna be planting drugs around your house.
Pretty great.
We'll get it all before we leave. Thanks for letting us do that. And we just want you to find it.
Okay.
And we haven't told you where it's gonna be, right?
No.
All right, so head down the stairs.
Okay.
And head on down there and we'll do that. And we're gonna slip in to her daughter's bedroom here and close the door so she can't see what we're doing. We're gonna start planting this stuff. We're gonna start right over here with this water bottle. I mean, look at this. Look at this water bottle. It's hollowed out on the inside. So I have some pot chocolate here, some pot chocolate. I'm just gonna put it right into the water bottle. Done. Looks like a regular water bottle. I'm gonna put it right there. I go on a spree, hiding real pot and over-the-counter painkillers. Lint brush. Not a lint brush. Unscrew it. Hollow it out the middle. I'm gonna stick that right over here. Stashing stuff in every corner of the bedroom. Looks like a regular pack of tissues, but there's a secret compartment. I'm gonna stick it right over here. From a belt to a pack of gum in the bathroom. We have pot gummies. Stick it like that. Hairspray, this stick of deodorant, even pills in this lipstick. And downstairs, pills inside this battery. And the mother of all things. It looks like a real power strip. In fact, the light even goes on to trick people. But on the back side of it, look at this. Yeah, hot pen. All while mom waits out of sight downstairs. All right, Jen. It's all good.
All right, here we go.
She gets to work.
Nothing under the bed.
Finding a few things.
Oh,
But most
anything moving in the closet or not?
she misses completely.
There's a water in here.
Even picking up the water bottle, but doesn't notice a thing.
Gosh, this girl has more makeup than a makeup artist.
Skipping over the lipstick and the hairspray in the bathroom. And look closely, she walks right by the power strip. In the end, she only found 4 of the 15 items we hid. Can I show you the stuff you missed?
Sure,
All
let's go.
Step right over
Okay.
here, one right at your feet here.
Oh, wow.
You see this power outlet?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I would have never found that.
In room, feel that?
Yeah.
Those are pills in there.
Jeez.
After room.
That's terrifying. I can't even believe how kids are able to hide stuff these days.
Remember, we found it all on Amazon. So how is that allowed? We contacted Amazon. The company declined to comment. So experts say parents need to police their own kids.
This is a huge wake-up call for parents. This is more widespread than they realize. It's affordable, it's accessible, a couple clicks online and that's it. It's a different world than we grew up in.
In case you're wondering, where are the drugs now? We threw them away after the shoot. And we also taped this in Colorado where pot is legal under state law. By the way, parents, there's another layer of protection too. I didn't know this, guys, but you can buy a drug test for like $20 at the drugstore.
Yeah.
It comes with 14 tests and you can actually test your kids. It's a very easy little swab
How do you
thing.
get your kid to take
Oh,
the
you
test?
you tell them
Hey,
you're taking a test.
Yeah.
Or experts say, even if you don't actually do it, it's a deterrent. You tell them you have it in the house. I'm going to test you.
So again, it's amazing what can be done, what can be found. That's a little video on Spot the Pot. There are many hiding places. Recommendation is take a look in your child's bag every now and then. That's a very popular hiding spot. You know, sometimes there's some secret pockets in there that it would take just a quick glance to open up that zipper and stick your hand in there, and you never know what you're going to find. Now, according to the video, how to purchase these items, and again, we're not promoting this, we're just trying to educate you on everything. And it said that the Amazon declined to comment. It's because it's money. They can be looked at as money hidden storage. So you can go down and you can look at everything. Like there's a brush right there. There's an Arizona tea can right there, but they have the money coming out of it. So there's lots of things that can be found. There's a plant right there. There's Del Monte sliced beets, tomatoes, whatever it may be, books. So just be very wary. You know, don't be afraid to go in and take a look at what's going on in your child's room or anything like that, because again, our kids are very smart. Oh, Jamie, I see you have your hand raised. I apologize.
Just, we have another question from one of the attendees. They want to know how prevalent drug use at the middle school is. And
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to answer that question. That would definitely be a question for either Mr. Penrod, Mr. King, or Ms. Nugent. Again, yeah, I don't know the trends at the middle school. I would assume that they're probably similar to what it is at the high school. I mean, I'm sure there's use there, but again, I can't speak to what the middle school trends are. The next one is so very similar to Spot the Pot. That was at home. There's also a video in plain sight at school. So it becomes very difficult for teachers and administrators at school also. So what we're going to do. Mr. Colabufo texted me on the answer to that question about the middle school. He said not nearly the level at the high school. Here's what I'm going to do. Mr. Colabufo, you are getting promoted today. I'm going to promote you.
you were drunk with power.
All right, Mr. Colabufo, you are now a panelist and you can answer the questions that I might not be able to. And I thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
So you stated the middle school is not nearly at the level that the high school is.
That is correct. As you know, I do all the superintendent hearings, and predominantly the majority are at the high school level. Middle school, it's rare that we have the cases, but that doesn't mean that it's not there, but it's nowhere near the level of the high school.
Thank you. So again, with Spot the Pot video, it showed kind of at home. I'm gonna go ahead and play the in plain sight at school video and show you some of the things that could happen at school.
At Jocelyn Main, shop a mix
After
of
we get
seasonal
through the
trends
ad.
for less than you thought possible, and make every day more holiday. Make graphic, feel gilded, all with fast and free shipping. Style is what you make it. Make it yours at Jocelyn Main.
Take a close look. This student is outfitted with vaping devices, but you can't see them. Why? They're designed to look just like normal school gear, for sale online and in vape shops, giving kids new ways to hide their vaping habits anywhere they go, including school. It's
rampant. I think every administrator who has a middle school and high school are grappling with vaping issues.
Superintendent Melissa Varley oversees the Berkeley Heights School District in New Jersey.
It's virtually undetectable. We don't know if a student is vaping in a classroom.
So would you know what to look for?
We're taking over a classroom at this high school. It's filled with student volunteers. Thank you, guys. We're gonna plant these hidden vaping devices and bring in teachers and parents and see just how well they do at spotting the vape.
I get to work,
Here's one that's designed to look just like a black marker.
stashing stuff all over the classroom.
So this guy looks like a USB. It's not, it's a vape.
And on students too.
Sophia looks like she's just wearing a regular hoodie, but underneath a vaping device.
Some vapes even look just like school supplies.
Looks just like a pen, but the vaping device is inside and you can write with it.
Time to bring in our volunteers.
I'm Vicky Wynn with the Today Show.
It's nice to meet you.
What's your name?
Miss Moretti.
Okay, Miss Moretti.
Yes.
We want to know if you can spot the vape. So we have outfitted this classroom with vaping devices. Look high, look low. You ready?
I think I'm ready.
You get 1 minute.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
She spots a couple of them,
That device that Dom's got there,
but breezes right past most
I think that could be.
before time runs out.
Two. And that is time. How many of you had a vaping device that she spotted?
3 items, not bad,
How many of you actually have vaping devices?
but she missed 11 of the 14 items we hid.
It's scary. Because it could be just in plain sight.
Some teachers spot a couple of the more obvious ones,
That looks like one too.
but most miss the harder to find items like this watch.
Sam is wearing what looks like a smartwatch, but if you press this button, this part comes out. You can fill this with nicotine and it's an e-cigarette.
It blends in, so nobody would ever know.
All 5 teachers missing this vape backpack.
This one's got a hidden device right here in the strap.
And I'm a hiker. I mean, this is the first thing I would think of as be camelback, so we can get water through it.
And the hoodie.
I think it's ingenious marketing, and I'm a little frightened.
This could be happening right under your nose.
Absolutely. It could be happening in my house. I have a 15-year-old.
Wow.
So now, no hoodies.
Even this school aide, a retired police officer, missing the watch and pen.
Very disheartening that there's so many out there that the kids can get access to.
What about parents? Will they do a better job spotting the vape?
I think that's a vaping device.
Not this group.
He was writing with a pen, but inside the pen,
Got me.
I never go home and check pens.
Parent after parent also mistaking the decoys for vapes.
I was pointing at this one, but that looks fairly suspicious as well.
That's just a marker. And they confuse the real vapes for regular items.
What did you think this was?
Didn't even think to look at that. Probably a marker, an eraser, or a highlighter.
The most any of our volunteers spotted, just 5 of the 14 items we hid. That's 36%, a failing grade.
It's very, very scary.
An eye-opening experience for both teachers and parents.
If you have to hide something, then there's something wrong with it.
Scary to see how easily they can hide things like that.
Parents need to.
So again, we just wanted to give you some information on how it looks with that. It's very easy to hide, very difficult to spot. So again, with everybody's eyes looking at everything, I think this is something that we can move forward and hopefully defeating, and especially the education around it. That's the most important. So those are a couple of videos. Again, this whole presentation will be up on our website, so you'll be able to go back and watch any of these videos with your children. But again, just know that we will have this up probably by tomorrow afternoon. So a couple of things as we're moving into Halloween, or really any time with THC, is that we know that it comes in the oil form. Many people like to create edibles. And what's an edible? It's a food product infused with marijuana and or THC oil. Though smoking marijuana is the most prevalent method of consumption, eating marijuana or THC, eating marijuana is quickly becoming a popular way to consume the drug. And when we say marijuana, we kind of include THC with that. THC is the oil. It can be put into brownies, cookies. It can really be put into anything that can be cooked. And yes, you will still get the euphoric feels around what it is. THC candies, again, cannabis infused candies, gummies are very popular. The popularity has grown with gummies. So, and we're going to show you something on the next slide. Baked goods are amongst the most common foods infused with marijuana, THC oil. However, most food product may be infused with marijuana and eaten. So that's very popular, THC oil and used in baked goods. And the reason I spoke about Halloween is because we know that our young people, especially our young people, like to go out and do a lot of trick or treating. We just wanted to show you this slide because, as you can see, many of the candied edibles out there have a very similar look to candies that are already out there. You see that the Stony Patch Kids look very similar to Sour Patch. You have the Stoner Patch watermelons, which again is very similar to Sour Patch watermelons. You have the Nerds, you have the Cannaburst. So it's incredibly important that when you bring your child back with that big sack full of candy and you dump it out on the floor, that you really take a look at what the candy is and really look at it. There's also candy bars out there. Really anything that can be consumed in a food form can have some form of THC. So our goal again is to educate you on what it looks like, but really look at what's going on with your children. So as I said, when you get home and you dump that big bag of candy out and they're so very excited, just be sure that you take a look at it and be sure that it's good for your kid and that they don't fall into any of these types of candies, because with these candies also there is a limit to eat, but because candy is candy, we know that some children like to consume like an entire bag of, say, the Stoner Patch. And that's not what you want to have our child do, because again, they could potentially go to the hospital and again, may end up even death, which would be the worst thing. So again, look at these, and it even says on some of the packages, not safe for kids or pets. So again, just look at those. This presentation will be up on the website. So if you want to go back and look at them, but again, just very important information that we're trying to provide. The question out there always is, what's the difference between THC and CBD? Many people always ask that question because they think THC and CBD is one and the same. Well, it is not. THC is what comes from, THC comes from marijuana, and that's what has the psycho effect on the brain, causing the high or the euphoria. And we have two types of cannabinoid receptors in our body. THC binds with those receptors, mostly in the brain. That's what controls pain, mood, other feelings. That's why THC can make you feel euphoric and give you what is that so-called high. And again, these are typically sourced from marijuana. So THC comes from marijuana. CBD is non-psychoactive on the brain. It does not cause a high. There are receptors that CBD attaches to, and CBD is generally around for pain. A lot of people use it for pain. There's oils. There is forms of it out there that you can ingest and things like that. And it's typically sourced from hemp. So when you're looking at THC and CBD, we're really looking at the THC side of it, because that is what comes from marijuana. And as Officer Locastro said earlier in the presentation, the THC is what is derived from the marijuana plant. And again, you know, we had a pen this year that was 90.6% THC. That can really do a lot of damage to people, especially if they don't know the concentration level and they're smoking it and they don't know how much they're taking into their body. So whenever you're driving around and you're looking at stores and you're seeing things and you're looking at windows and you see THC and CBD, that's the difference. So it's just we just want to give you an understanding of what THC and is and what CBD is. So again, Mr. Colabufo spoke of disciplinary consequences around superintendent's hearings. And what it looks like is possession of smoking tobacco materials or paraphernalia. The first offense is a 3-day in-school suspension where students are required to complete a vaping assignment. So each day that they're in there, there's a portion of an assignment that they have to complete that's over the 3 days. A second offense is a 3-day external suspension. Again, our goal is to keep the students in school. We don't want them out of school because they could fall behind in work and things like that. So a third offense, 5-day external suspension, superintendent's hearing. And then any paraphernalia tested positive for THC oil results in immediate 5-day suspension with a superintendent's hearing. And again, Mr. Colabufo oversees the superintendent's hearings, and I see that he turned off his microphone, so I'm going to allow him to speak on this.
Yeah, Damon, if I could just jump in on that part for a second.
Yep.
I do all the superintendent hearings, and this year and last year, I think all parents should understand that when those parents have tears in their eyes and they say that their kids never tried this before, but just the shock that their child was willing to put something into their system via a dab pen without knowing the contents is so scary for parents, because basically they're playing Russian roulette with their lives. And that's why I'm so glad that you and Officer Locastro touch upon, things like addiction, and anxiety and, depression that maybe some students are going through. So I think it's important that all parents understand that we listen to the parents. We drastically increased our partnership with Farnham Family Support Services, the drug and alcohol counselors. And for students that do get put out because they're suspended with drugs, they're able to come back a lot sooner if they agree to these drug counseling sessions. And finally, I just want to say that the overwhelming majority of students that are required to go to the drug counselor housed in our high school, middle school, they choose to stay on with that drug counselor because it's something that they need. And I think that parents really should know that we have that service in our high school and our middle school. Thank you.
Absolutely. And Ms. Colbooth, just we do have Aaron Rodman with us tonight. So if parents had questions around the counseling piece, she is here to answer any questions that they may have. So
that's fantastic.
Ms. Rodman has been a fantastic resource for many of our students in the school, and we appreciate what she does. So in the end, how, as adults, can we help students? How can we help our children? And first and foremost, cherish life and let your child know that their life matters and it has value. Because that's really the most important. Remind children that brain transplants are not happening. You can't just go into the hospital and say, I need to get my hip replaced. Those are very popular. Knee replacements can be done. Brain replacements cannot be done. So they got to take care of their brain. Don't buy what the industry is selling. These companies are looking for lifelong users to create a profit. So what do? They market to our young people using social media because it's very popular amongst them. And once they get them hooked, they've got them hooked for a lifetime, because it's very, very difficult to beat the addiction. So our goal is to not even allow them to get there. So it takes a lot of work on our part and a lot of saying the same thing over and over and over again. But let's keep fighting this battle so that our students are safe. Again, adults need to be aware of the newest tactics, devices, and substances being used. Hopefully tonight we were able to give you an awareness around that, and what the vapes look like and what the dab pens look like and where these items can be hidden. So if at any time you ever have any questions about any of this, please feel free to reach out to myself, Officer Locastro, and the administrative staff at the school, and we will try to answer your questions as best as possible, because really that's what our goal is to educate everybody. Check your child's digital history. Again, there's a footprint out there with your children and what they're looking at and their history and stuff like that. And it's okay to ask them for their phone, because I would say 9 times out of 10, you're paying for their phone. So feel free to take it away and ask them to, unlock it and say, hey, let's see what you're looking at. Officer Castro, I see that you had your hand raised.
Yes, I have another question from a parent.
Absolutely.
How can parents get drug counseling for their child when it's already been presented to them, but Farnham gives minors a choice on whether they want to even participate in counseling? So I think that would probably be a question that maybe Erin could answer for us, if she's willing to.
Sure. So Farnham Prevention Services are the services that are in the school. And unfortunately, we are a voluntary program, and we can't force any students to meet with us. When we do have students that come from superintendent's hearings, most of them are voluntary because they want to have that suspension treatment. However, I would probably recommend, if your child is 13 or older, if you wanted them to be seen, you taking them to a substance use program to get them evaluated. Farnham, our outpatient programs see children 13 and up, and parents are more involved in that process, and the parent permission and all that stuff are required. So that would probably be the easiest way to go. But even in that case, if a child is not willing to share, it does become kind of difficult. So talking to your child maybe about the benefits of that and kind of encouraging them to have someone to talk to and kind of get the buy-in from them as well as having it at home. Hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you, Erin. And that answer kind of leads right into the next bullet point, red flags. Just be very wary of your children. Is there a change in friends? Has there been a change in their appearance or their grades? Have you seen a dip in their grades? Have you seen a dip in how they're acting? Do they seem to be more closed up? Are they up in their bedroom? They're not really talking. You don't see them much anymore. So any of those red flags that you may see may warrant a conversation with them to say, hey, what's going on? I've noticed a few things have changed. Is there anything I can help you with? Behavior changes. Don't fall into the, it's not my child, it's normal teenage behavior. We've had many conversations with students, and Officer Locastro likes to call it youthful exuberance. We know that teenagers are going to take risks and things like that, but it's our goal to educate them on what those risks can end up being, what could happen to them, how it could affect their life when they leave Paul V. Moore High School and the walls of Paul V. Moore High School, and they get out into the world, and what it can do for them and how it could potentially harm them. But again, our goal is always to educate the students and what's best for them and how it's going to help them moving forward. And on the last bullet point, know the contents of their bedroom, their clothing brands, other drug and tobacco hiding places. I feel that those videos that we showed you gave you a little bit of insight on where students could potentially be hiding some things. Again, don't be afraid to grab their bag and check it out. If you see your child wearing clothing brands that you may have a question about, there's a popular one out there. It's called Cookies right now, Cookies. If you're not sure of it, look at it and then give it a quick Google. Go on the Google search and find out what it is, because the Cookies brand that's out there right now it's based around a company that sells vaping devices and THC vaping devices. So again, just know what's going on. Keep an eye on your child and everything that they're doing, and it's okay to ask them questions as much as they're going to get angry. I do have 3 teenagers. I have a 19-year-old, a 17-year-old, and a 16-year-old. So I understand the battles that we're all going through, and sometimes they just don't want to answer questions, but they also know that I will walk into their room and check it at any time that I want to. So because it's okay to do that.
And Damon, if I could just jump on there, one more thing, comment.
Yep.
So it's being a parent. I've got 2 kids. It's about choosing your battles, but this isn't a battle that we want to, stray away from. What's frustrating, and I'm not by any means bashing the hardworking parents in our district, because they're amazing people. But if this was going to be a presentation about getting rid of class rank, I'd have about 700 participants on here. We have 13 right now for something as serious as drugs and the rise in dab pens and whatnot. And so I'm very grateful for those parents that did take the time to sign on for this. And I know other parents that are working maybe double shifts or the late shift, they can't be in this. But this is a serious topic, and it's a serious topic in all school districts. And I want parents to know that even though you may think that's not your kid, you have to have that conversation. Because when I'm doing these superintendent hearings, I'm now doing them with kids that do not fit what we 30 years ago would have thought, oh, that kid's, a kid that gets high. No, they don't. They're like some of them are great students. They're athletes. They're just struggling with something in their personal lives. So that's where the parents have to come in and have those difficult conversations with their kids. But again, I just want to thank the two of you and our Farnham counselor for being part of this. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. So again, we wanted to provide you some parent resources, smokefree.gov, notmykid.org, makesmokinghistory.org, and tobaccofreekids.org. Those are 4 fantastic websites that can provide you information, that can provide you some conversation starters with your children. If you have a child that is smoking or you find out that they're vaping and smoking, it provides you information on how to help them quit. So those are some fantastic resources. And again, this presentation will be up on our website, so you'll be able to refer back to this. And all of these, they're all very clickable. So again, you can just go on, click it. The link will bring you right to it. You know, Smoke Free for Teen. That's again, very popular, gives you tools. Smoke Free Text for Teens, Quit Start app, Speak to an Expert, Build My Quit Plan, Smoke Free. So again, it provides you all of this information on how to quit, handling hard times, things like that. So all of this information is provided in this presentation. We hope you've enjoyed the presentation. And if you have any questions, I know that this presentation says it stops at 7 o'clock, but we do have a few minutes if we go over. If anyone does have questions that they want to ask, please feel free to throw them into the chat or the Q&A and we will answer them. And last but not least, I wanted to give you my email address, which is dvillnave@cssdapps.org. If you have any questions related to vaping, smoking, drugs, edibles, any type of information like that. We also have Officer Locastro's email on here, JLOCASTRO@cssdapps.org. If you had any legal questions or anything like that, or any questions around drugs and anything that you wanted to ask him, that's his information. So now we will open it up to any questions that anyone may have out there. And Mr. Colabufo put his in the chat, TCOLABUFO@cssdapps.org as well. So if you have any questions for him, he would gladly answer anything that you may have. Oh, thank you, Aaron. There's another one in the chat. It's called Truth Initiative.org. This is quitting. So it's a very helpful resource. They have a quit vaping text line that students can utilize. Parents can text quit to 847-278-9715 to sign up to receive text messages designed specifically for parents or vapors. Aaron, if I could just ask you, could you email that to me and I'll actually add that one right onto the presentation tomorrow. So that would be a little bit, so people can just click on that and we'll get them right over. Dr. Sweeney has also put in her email address, which is hsweeney@cssdapps.org. If you have any questions that she might be able to answer. Again, we are here for you and to answer any questions that you may have. I don't see any other questions, so I'd like to thank everybody that came out tonight to watch this. Please, if anyone has any questions, direct them to the website. It will be on the main page of the website by tomorrow afternoon. And if you have any friends or parents out there that you talk to frequently that have questions about vaping, please have them reach out to us. A question did come up talking about drugs more with psychology. Oh, that one was answered. Oh, Jane, thank you. We appreciate you showing up. So thank you again, everybody, and we look forward to talking to you soon.